It's the Mustang Insider Show presented by Cal Portland, the largest building materials company of cement and construction material products on the West Coast. Now, here's Chris Sylvester, the voice of the Mustangs.
Welcome to another edition of the Mustang Insider presented by Cal Portland. And, well, the spring season is kind of meant championship season around Cal Poly. The women's golf program just took home the Big West title here in 2021, as did the men's tennis program last weekend, wrapping up the Big West regular season title with victories on the road at UC Santa Barbara and at home over UC Riverside. We're happy to be joined by head coach of the Cal Poly men's tennis program, Nick Carless. Coach, thanks so much for taking some time out of your schedule to join us. Congratulations on winning the Big West regular season title. First time you guys have done it since 2013. You guys have won 9 straight games. You finished a perfect 6-0 in the conference regular season. Take me through this last month or so for your group.
First of all, thanks for having us. And yeah, it's been a great ride. I'll tell you that much. It's funny. We went to University of Oregon the 1st of March and played 3 indoor matches. Kind of got our butts kicked, played well. But, we came back from that trip, again, the beginning of March or the middle of March, and, just kind of got back to work and kept working hard, but maybe started working a little bit smarter on some of the things that we were seeing in our guys' games. And, things started to click, and we've always played well here at home, but, certainly going undefeated here at home and having this great run since March has made us feel really confident about where we're at all the way through that conference season. So it was kind of the lumps that we took on the road in Oregon, I think, that set us straight for all the outdoor matches we had here through March and April.
Yeah, certainly maybe some of those non-conference struggles helped you when it came down to Big West play. You're 13-7 overall. Mentioned that perfect 6-0 run through the Big West regular season. This team started 4-7. You guys have won 9 straight. And obviously you said that kind of that Oregon match, so they were ranked pretty high, I think 40th in the country when you saw them a little more than a month ago. But your team has really kicked it into another gear since conference play started. The undefeated run through the Big West, it was the first time you saw any conference competition in 2 years. What was it like for this group kind of coming back from the shortened season last year and preparing for a full Big West schedule here in 2021?
No doubt the guys were hungry and really excited to play conference. And I think, my assistant coaches and I, whenever we're building a schedule, we've always tried to build as tough of a non-conference schedule that we can. And we're fortunate here being on the West Coast of the United States where you can get so much great competition with Pac-12 schools and WCC schools and Mountain West schools. So again, we always try to play the best, and we feel like that prepares us, as best we can for the Big West. But, our team, went through a lot, as did all spring sports athletes through this pandemic, with our seasons being canceled last year. So I just think the guys were just so hungry to be able to actually play some conference matches. And, I just think the overall excitement of being able to play in the Big West, in the regular season and in the conference tournament is what we worked so hard for. So to have that chance taken away from us last year, I just think made the guys even more motivated through March and through the end of the non-conference season to be as prepared as possible and then therefore as confident as possible as we could have been going into these matches.
Nick Carless with us. He is our guest this week on the Mustang Insider presented by Cal Portland, talking Cal Poly men's tennis. Coach, you're in year 10 at the helm of this Cal Poly men's tennis program. You won back-to-back Big West regular season titles your first 2 years, 2012, 2013. I always think of the great Hall of Fame baseball player Cal Ripken Jr. and how his rookie year he won the World Series, and he thought from that point on he would be winning the World Series every year. Turns out he didn't get another one. Obviously, you guys are back on top of the Big West in the regular season for the first time since 2013. What did it feel like winning those first 2 regular season titles, your first 2 years at the helm of the program? And how do you compare that feeling to capturing this one, 8 years later?
Yeah, that's such a good question. For sure. I think as a young head coach, those first couple titles, I had no idea the challenges that it was going to take to continue to keep your program at that level. And And to be honest, we've had some really good teams. Some of our highest nationally ranked teams. Our 2017 team was 30 in the country at one point. We've had a lot of teams that have hovered around the 40s, but really, just no hardware to show for it in the last 5 to 6 years, because we've been getting to the finals. We haven't been anything lower than second. So I just think, I know how much this season's victory means for a lot of those players that have come and gone the last few years that haven't been able to win a title, but have still been on very successful teams. And so, like I told the guys, we're always out here competing and playing for a lot more than ourselves. We represent a university, we represent a community in San Luis Obispo, but we also want to play for all the guys that were part of the program before us and after us. And so I just think the last 6 years is us being so close, having such good years, but not really getting over the top, at least in the regular season. It was nice to finally accomplish that. And but we feel like the job's not done. We'd like to go down to that conference tournament and continue to see if we can get that last final, big goal of the season, back in Mott Gym.
Well, you talk about the conference tournament that's coming up May 1st and May 2nd, and you kind of look at college athletics. There's 3 different seasons. You have the non-conference portion, you have the conference regular season, and then you have conference tournament time. And you guys aced the test when it came to the conference regular season, going 6-0 this year. The Big West tournament, May 1st and 2nd, going to be in Irvine this year. This is usually a postseason tournament held in Palm Springs, but switching locations this season. Does that change any of your preparation in comparison to years past where the conference tournament would normally be?
Sense that usually when we go to Indian Wells, you're going to deal with some hotter weather, which we just don't really get to train in, given the great weather we have here in San Luis Obispo. And we typically practice in the mornings, which is under cloud cover. So always, getting prepared for a conference tournament when it's in Palm Springs, getting down there a few days early to get used to the bouncier, heavier, higher bouncing courts that is at the tennis garden. And also just getting used to the weather. Hot weather slows down tennis. It makes the points not as fast in terms of how the ball's traveling through the air. So, with that said, going to Irvine, I don't think we'll have as much of an adjustment in that sense. It'll just be more getting down there, kind of seeing a new facility and seeing what the court layout is like. And, within a couple of hours, I think our guys will feel really comfortable with playing at the Great Park.
Nick Carless, Cal Poly men's tennis head coach, is our guest here on the Mustang Insider presented by Cal Portland. Hey, do you like the 2 weeks off in between the end of the regular season and the conference tournament? Because sometimes when you're in a stretch where your team's on a winning streak like you guys are, you don't want to sit around too long.
I don't know that I have a preference. I think that can go both ways. But yeah, I like the momentum we have, but I think we can keep it going. I think there's some things that we would like to work on in practice before we go down to the conference tournament. Mainly our doubles. Again, we've been playing well. Obviously, we've been having success, but I think if you ask all the guys in our inner circle, I think we can play a little bit better doubles than what we've been playing. So I think the break will allow us to kind of get back to work with just some of the fundamentals in doubles that will allow us to maybe secure that point down there more, because we've been having to rely a little bit too much on our singles here towards the end of the season, and doubles has always been one of our strengths. So we'd like to get back to that here in these next 2 weeks before we get down there.
I mentioned your first Big West regular season title this year since the 2 that you captured your first couple of years as head coach. How sweet was it to clinch against a Santa Barbara program that has had so much success in this conference the last decade?
We'd like to see their full team. They had a guy out, with some health issues, but I think if we can see their full team, we would prefer that. But look, they're the gold standard in the Big West. They've won 17 titles since they've been Division I. I think men's tennis is their most successful program in terms of conference titles. So for us, it's like, we know that we push them, they push us. It's the whole iron sharpens iron. But I'd be lying to say if it doesn't feel good to beat the Gauchos. It felt really good. They've kind of been our kryptonite here the last 5 years. But look, we know that they're going to be operating on all cylinders at the conference championships. They're going to be wanting to beat us. So we need to continue to be ready for not just them, but all the other schools that we could potentially see in that draw. But they're a great program. Coach Davis and Coach Mueller down there at Santa Barbara do a great job. And I think they make us better coaches. And so it feels good always to get one against your rival, and especially a group that we respect.
2014, last time you guys went to the NCAA tournament. Of course, you had to win the Big West Conference tournament that season. You didn't win the regular season title that year, though. This will be the first opportunity you have since then to kind of win both the Big West regular season and the conference tournament. How tough is it to get down there in the matter of a couple of days and have your season on the line and do it? And, what do you maybe take away from that run in 2014 that can help you out here in 2021?
Yeah, a lot. The 2014 season was one to remember. We started 0-7, and we ended up playing our best again in March and April, and really played our best when it mattered. And so, this year we didn't start 0-7. We started 4-7. But I think there's some similarities in the sense that, the bumps that we took early in the year, the lessons that we learned from playing some really good schools on the road, like Oregon, like Pepperdine, like University of San Diego, those just made us better. And I think that 2014 season, it was the same. But we try to keep things really simple. We're trying not too much to compare to previous seasons or last seasons or even what we were doing a month ago. We really try to work on the philosophy of being where our feet are and just focusing on what's in front of us that day. And again, we've just got to get better at some doubles. We've got to keep guys doing what they've been doing in singles and staying healthy and fresh mentally. And I think if we can keep doing those things, we're going to be in another great position to capture both. But as cliche as it is for coaches to say this, we got to stay process oriented. We can't think about the conference title or this or that. We've got to just keep focusing on how we want to hit the tennis ball, how we want to compete, and how we want to prepare to be able to do that when we get down there. And being at a facility that we've never been at before, it'll take some time to adjust. But look, we've been traveling enough. We've played enough road matches to know that you can get ready for a facility or a court within 90 minutes or 2 hours if you've got a focused, disciplined hit. So that's what we'll do. We'll get down there next Friday. We'll do that, and we'll be ready to play Saturday.
Speaking of singles, speaking of doubles, speaking of winning, you have to talk about the reigning Mechanics Bank Student Athlete of the Week. I'm talking about Alex Stater, the redshirt junior. He's had the best singles record on the team. He's been playing with the ones most of the year. He and Gary Vardanian, the best doubles record on the team. And obviously what he was able to do last weekend in the wins over Santa Barbara and Riverside, propelling you to this conference regular season title. How big have those two guys been for your team this year? And what do you need them to do in Irvine in a couple of weeks to get this thing done and get back to the NCAA tournament?
Those guys have been staples of our program and within our lineup for the last 3 to 4 years. So those guys just have so much experience. And I think our team draws a lot of confidence in both those guys when they're on the court. And they kind of sandwich our lineup, Alex being at 1 and Gary being at 6. But our team is so deep, there's not a big drop off in level between who's our number 1 and then our number 6 guy. And I think that's part of the reason why we're having success this year. But, both of them, Gary Vardanian has had to battle some injuries this year. He came back in December from meniscus surgery and, really kind of had to put in a lot of work in his body and to figure out, kind of how he wanted to be playing this year coming back from that injury. But again, I think he's playing some of his best tennis right now. And we need that from him at 6. And he and Alex together at doubles have been so consistent for us. And then obviously Alex has just put together a really special year for our program and as a Mustang tennis player, being ranked as high as 77 in the country, and probably I would imagine will finish within the national rankings. But he's a great success story, a kid that came in as a recruited walk-on who really, really worked hard, set some high goals for himself, has learned a lot here and really matured as a young man. And, a credit to his discipline and his dedication to the game, really has put together a special season. And, he's just playing at such a high level. You need that at number 1 singles, I think, obviously, but it's just fun to watch him play. If you haven't seen him play, I would encourage you, if you can try to watch our matches online, or it's an exciting brand of tennis. He puts a lot of balls in the court. He's got a huge forehand, and he's just hard to get the ball by. And that makes him a nightmare for people to play. So both those guys are great Mustangs and have been a lot for us over the years. And I'd imagine they'll continue to be some of our best players here to finish the season.
We're working on the streaming thing, Coach. I mean, the best view right now is from the top of the parking garage for your home matches in San Luis Obispo. But I would love to be able to broadcast some of those. That would be a whole lot of fun, especially with all the success you guys have had. Hey, before I let you go, I got to ask you about the true freshman Noah Berry. He's been playing with the #2 singles duo. It's his first year on campus. How impressive has this guy been with such little time at this level?
He's just got such a high upside. He's a gamer. He's a kid that just knows how to win. And I don't even think he's tapped into the potential of some of the things that he can develop in his game. He's got a perfect physical build for the game of tennis. And I just think his serve is going to get bigger. His forehand will get bigger in terms of both of those shots abilities to penetrate the court. And then therefore he's going to be able to get easier points throughout his tennis life as those shots get developed. But I mean, the guy is he's got an amazing backhand. He's a great mover for someone who's 6'1" or 6'2", knows how to play the defensive part of the game, which is a difficult part to teach. And so as we continue to work on those parts of his game, and as he continues to build some bigger weapons, really the sky's the limit for him in college tennis. And, he's got his eyes set on being a professional tennis player. And I think if he keeps putting in the work, I just think that what he's done this freshman year is just a small glimmer of what can potentially happen for him in his college career in the years to come.
Nick Carless, our guest this week on the Mustang Insider, presented by Cal Portland. For all the love that March Madness gets, I'm excited for some May Madness down at Irvine with the Big West Conference tournament, and I hope to see you guys playing beyond that. Coach, thanks so much for your time, and safe travels down south. We look forward to catching up again soon.
Okay, and well, I'll talk to you guys soon. Go Mustangs.
Go Mustangs. All right, we're almost to the finish line on this week's edition of the Mustang Insider presented by Cal Portland. But first things first, we have to give some love to our friends at American Riviera Bank. Open a Cal Poly Mustang checking account today, and American Riviera Bank will donate $150 to support student athletes. Plus, get an exclusive Cal Poly Mustang debit card and Cal Poly checks. Just visit arb.bank/Mustangs for more information. I promise that's something you don't want to miss out on. So we wish the best of luck to Nick Carless and the Cal Poly men's tennis team as they get ready for the Big West Conference tournament May 1st and 2nd down in Irvine, and hopefully participating in the NCAA tournament after that. Thanks so much for watching another edition of the Mustang Insider presented by Cal Portland.
This has been the Mustang Insider Show presented by Cal Portland, with a commitment to environmental leadership that has made the organization stronger and is the primary choice of contractors. The Mustang Insider Show. The preceding has been a Learfield IMG College presentation of the Cal Poly Sports Network.